Hello everyone, my name is Hanny Ardelia Cahyaningrum. My NPM is 2020-125-00158. And right now I'm gonna tell you about William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A. Describing the world of Shakespeare's Macbeth. Macbeth is a tragedy written in 5 acts by William Shakespeare, written in sometime in 1606-1607 and was published in 1623. The play is the shortest of Shakespeare's tragedies, without diversions or subplots. In Macbeth, its seizing of power and subsequent destruction, both his rise and his fall, is the result of blind ambition. Long story short, Macbeth and Banquo, who are generals serving King Duncan of Scotland, meet the weird sister, the three witches, whose prophecy that Macbeth will become Thane of Cawdor and become king, and that Banquo will beget kings. And soon, Macbeth discovers that he's been made Thane of Cawdor, which leads him to believe the rest of the prophecy. When King Duncan, honoring Macbeth by visiting his castle of Dunsinane at Inverness, both Macbeth and his wife realize that it's time for them to carry out a plan. Supported by his wife, Macbeth kills Duncan, and the murder then discovered by Macduff when he wants to pick up the king. While Duncan's son, Malcolm, and Donalbain ran away from the country, scared for their lives. Because of their disappearance, Macbeth quickly becomes king. Worried about the witch's prophecy, Macbeth arranged the death of Banquo, and then Banquo's son, Fleance, ran away. Banquo's ghost haunts Macbeth, and Lady Macbeth is going crazy because of her guilt. Then the witches assure Macbeth that he will be safe until Birnam Woods come to Dunsinane and that no woman born will harm him. Now Macduff is joining Malcolm's army. Macbeth ordered to kill Macduff's wife and children. Then the army came using branches of Birnam Woods as camouflage. Macbeth knew that the prophecy is complete because Birnam would come to Dunsinane. Lady Macbeth dies, and Macbeth was killed in the Battle of Macduff, and Malcolm becomes the rightful king. B. The dramatic structure of Macbeth. There are 5 act structure in Macbeth: prologue or exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement or resolution. The prologue or exposition is when the play takes place in Scotland, a war is ending, the Scottish general Macbeth and his faithful friend Banquo have emerged victoriously, and three witches have an evil plot against Macbeth. When they met him, they told him that he will be a king. And the rising action part is when Macbeth and his wife kill the king and take the throne. They go on tyrannical killing spree. The action rises when people see how ambitious Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have become. For example, the lines were, "How can I be a king someday? Macbeth would have to kill King Duncan, and we will have to kill others to keep our place on our throne." And the climax part is when Macbeth holds a banquet and sees the ghost of Banquo. Then Lady Macbeth becomes unstable, and the couple begins to fear the consequences of their murderous deeds. The falling action is when a rebellion is instigated by Macduff to restore the throne to Duncan's exiled son. This is where Macbeth learns another set of prophecies from the witches and begins to think that he will be saved. And then the denouement or resolution is when the three witches' predictions come true and the castle is stormed. and then Macbeth was killed. C. The central character Macbeth and the characterization of Macbeth. Macbeth is a Scottish general who is led to wicked thoughts by prophecies of the three witches, especially about the prophecy that will make him Thane of Cawdor comes true. Macbeth is a brave soldier and a powerful man, but he is very easily tempted. Like he is tempted to murder just to fulfill his ambition to the throne. And once he commits his first crime and is crowned King of Scotland, he embarks on further atrocities with increasing case. Ultimately, Macbeth proves himself better suited to the battlefield than to the political intrigue, because he lacks the skill necessary to rule without being a tyrant. His response to every problem is violence and murder, unlike Shakespeare's other villains such as Iago in Othello and Richard III. Macbeth is never comfortable in his role as criminal. He cannot bear all the consequences. D. The language and rhetoric of Macbeth. First one is simile. Simile is comparison between two things. For example, it is on Act 1, Scene 2, line 3 until 5. This is the sergeant who, like a good and hardy soldier, fought against my captivity. The second one is on Act 1, Scene 3, line 19:7. As thick as hail came post with post. The third one is Act 5, Scene 8, line 43. But like a man, he died. Second one is metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of substitution. Metaphor is a simile with the words like or omitted. For example, at Act 1, Scene 3, line 150 until 151. Kind gentlemen, your pains are registered, where every day I turn the leaf to read them. Third is personification. Personification is a figure of lifeless things are spoken as a person. For example, on Act 1, Scene 2, line 41, my gaseous cry for help. Or at Act 4, Scene 3, line 39 until 40, I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds. The fourth one is apostrophe. Apostrophe is a figure in which a person or thing is addressed. The speaker turns aside from the main theme to address some person or something. For example, on Act 1, Scene 5, line 38 until 48, come you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, etc. Or on Act 1, Scene 5, line 48 until 52, come thick nights, and fall thee in the dunnest smoke of hell. The fifth one is hyperbole. Hyperbole is a figure by which things are represented as being greater or less than they are. Hyperbole is an exaggerated statement. For example, on Act 2, Scene 1, lines 123 until 127, what hens are here? Huh? They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnate make the green one red. The sixth one is euphemism. Euphemism is a figure by which a harsh or offensive idea is stated in an inoffensive manner. For example, on Act 1, Scene 5, line 64 until 66, he that's coming must be provided for, and you shall put this night's great business into my dispatch. The seventh one is antithesis. Antithesis is a figure by which words or sentences are placed in direct contrast. For example, on Act 1, Scene 3, line 38, So foul and fair a day I have not seen. Or on Act 1, Scene 5, lines 63 and 64. Look like the innocent flower, but the serpent's under it. 8. Irony, made of expression is which the meaning is contrary to the words. For example, on Act 3, Scene 4, line 14 until 16, was not that nobly done, and wisely too, for it would have angered any heart alive to hear the man denied. Or at Act 4, Scene 3, line 176 until 179, how does my wife? Why? Well. And all my children? Well too. The tyrant has not bettered at their peace. No, they were well at peace when I did leave him. And the ninth is metonymy. Metonymy is a figure which substitutes the name of one thing for the name of the other with which it is on some way connected. For example, on Act 1, Scene 3, line 121, that trusted home might yet enkindle you unto the crown. Or on Act 2, Scene 1, line 130, a little water clears us of his deed. The 10th one and the last one is alteration. Alteration is a frequent recurrence of the same initial letter or sound. For example, on Act 1, Scene 2, line 49, where the Norwegian banners flout the sky and fan our people cold. Or on Act 1, Scene 5, line 20, and yet wolves wrongly win. Interpretation of Macbeth. It is about ambition and faith versus free will, appearance versus reality, and order versus chaos. We can also explore some of the most important symbols of the sinister play, such as blood, clothing, and sleep. The play is a tragedy, and as such, it is instructive about how to live our lives and make the right choices. In connection with this, the question of whether or not we feel any sympathy with Macbeth, the tragic hero, it is teaching us of how to be emotionally responsible and try not to think about what anybody say too seriously. And here is the bibliography. Thank you so much.